My father drove me to the dinner party. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't able to eat anything. I said, I am really unwell. I went to the washroom and I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself for a bit of time. And I said, Heather, if you do not announce you need help, you are going to die. It was just a deep internal knowing. And I said, I need an ambulance. I need an ambulance right now, right now. And my fiance said, no, don't phone for an ambulance. I'll drive her. We're driving. I remember it being a kind of a dark, lonely highway. By then, the pain was so horrendous beyond anything I had ever experienced in my life. It was so severe. And then after that, it really was lights out. So it was a progressive thing. I knew I was going to die. This darkness started to come, but it had a sound to it too. It was kind of like a, like almost like a breeze, but you don't feel the breeze, but the sound of it. And it came from a bit behind and over me until all I could see out of was a tiny pinhole. And eventually that was gone. And so I am completely embraced by this blackness, so devoid of light of any kind. I was 100% alone. People will say, well, everyone knows when they're dead, but no, not really. I'm in this black place, but it's truly calm. I feel very comfortable. It's kind of like floating. You're suspended, but you're floating all at the same time. What I always likened it to was for anybody who has managed to be at a lake where there's absolutely nobody. It's early morning. The lake is like a mirror. It's so calm and it's quiet. And it would be like floating on your back with your eyes closed. That's what it reminded me of. Very, very peaceful. But at the same time, I was also very curious. I was so curious in the fact that I wanted to know, how dark is it really? And so I had put my hand in front of my face because I want to know, can I see my hand? Now, not recognizing I'm dead, so this obviously would be yes, myself, but on an energetic level, I could not see my hand. I couldn't see anything. As time went along, I noticed way off in the distance was kind of like a tiny speck of light. Because, of course, in this place, any type of light you are going to notice immediately. It was so black. And so I kind of watched it and I had noticed, oh, it got a little bigger. Oh, look at that, it's getting bigger. I wonder what that is. And so I'm watching it and watching it. It's getting closer and closer. And then I realize, oh, wait a minute. That looks like a funnel. And it's coming closer and closer. I'm keeping my eye on it. I'm not feeling extraordinarily comfortable at this stage because it is getting quite big. And then next thing I know, it's kind of over me and I'm being almost like being slowly beamed up into it. And it swirled, it moved, it had a lot of motion to it. It had this incredible light and gray and sparkling white light within it as it swirled and moved, seemed quite large. And as I'm being drawn in there, I'm not feeling very comfortable right now. I decided to stretch my arms and legs out, kind of like a starfish, because I wanted to touch the sides, because quite frankly, I wanted to stop the movement. Once I did that, it widened, so I could not. Now, it was at that moment of time that I was actually completely freaked out. I was frightened. I couldn't stop this process. There was nothing I could do. because obviously it widened. I couldn't touch the sides. And I continue going up and up. I did look up, and as I looked up, it was even brighter. Like the higher that we went, the brighter it got. And as I got to the very top of it, it was kind of like being popped out into this incredible light. And it was a blinding white light. It was dimensional light. It was like a live light. It had movement to it. It had levels to it. It was very interesting.
When you say dimensional light, can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit more about that?
Okay. You turn on your light switch, or somebody shines a really bright light at you. It doesn't have the feel of many levels to it, many different tones to it. It's one tone. This was kind of all of them in it, and it came from everywhere. It wasn't just shining at me. I'm enveloped in it, and it's expansive, it's enormous. It just felt to me that there were different tones of light within that light. Now, as time was going along, it felt, yes, more like a consciousness. So maybe that's why, to me, it felt like it had many dimensions to it. There was just so much more to it than just light. Now, if anybody's been to a nighttime like football game, and you know how they have those incredible lights, they're bright, they're enormous. There's so many of them. If you took all of them and stacked them all on top of each other, and then have a large group of people start walking from that light. And I'm not talking about maybe 10 people. I'm talking about like 100, 150 people. Maybe it was more, maybe it was 200 people. It was a massive group. And I'm very much afraid now, and I'm kind of vile with my language as they're getting closer and closer. And I'm putting my hand up and saying, stop and F off, back away from me. I was not nice about the whole thing at all. And they kept coming and kept coming. And that's where as they kind of spread out in a group, was how I recognized there were so many of them. Now there's a few people in the very front, but now I can see their faces. And I'm looking, and I had realized, oh, I know some of these people. There's my Uncle Dick, and there's my Aunt Alice, and there's my great grandfather and my grandfather, and there's people I knew. Now, perplexing because wait a minute, they died, right? My great grandmother steps towards me, and she's maybe a hand width away from me at this stage. And this part always makes me cry. Ugh. She had said, Heather, you have died. I couldn't grasp that. And so she had said it again, Heather, you have died. And I was like, no, 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 this can't be. How can this be? And I'm crying, can't be, it can't be, it can't be. Obviously, she stepped back, and there was this different feel that came. I can only liken it to that, of that had like some golden light in it. And I knew it was different. It was just a real deep knowing there's a difference here now. I was told I was going to be okay, but it was very peaceful, very genuine, very caring, very loving. And when I paused for a moment now, instead of all my freak out and bawling and everything else, that was when I realized the light in general was very welcoming, was supportive, incredibly loving energy. When I did stand up, what was kind of odd was I noticed the group of people were of, I couldn't figure out if they knew me from different lifetimes. There were some war vets from World War I even. There was a Knights Templar. There was what I called a really poor king. He had a crown, but it was not what we consider how a king would be.
So you're surmising that these are possibly people from past lives, aspects of your
Possibly,
soul, possibly.
possibly, or somehow they knew me, but at that moment of time, I didn't know them. They were just part of the group. And so, with this energy that's still with me, telling me everything's going to be okay, I was then removed from this whole entire setting, which was too bad because I didn't get to ask anything. I was then off to the life review. The life review was, you're completely immersed in it. It wasn't like watching it on screens. It was like the whole place that I was in was a living echo or a living record of my entire life. In every aspect, I'm not only just the viewer, I'm the experiencer, I'm the doer, I'm noticing it energetically, I'm noticing it consciously. Everything that happened, I'm experiencing it in all encompassing ways. Example, if you can imagine, you know how you can put those VRs on and you can have an experience, maybe you're in Egypt. It's kind of
Yes.
liken it to that. But
It.
so you're really immersed in it, but you feel everything. You know everything, all the thoughts, all the feelings, everything about it.
Are
You
you
know, so
knowing your own thoughts or thoughts of other people?
other people, what they thought, what they felt, what they experienced, what the energy exchange was. What did they do with the energy? Our words, our energy, it goes into people, it goes into their auric field. Some people take it right entirely into their body. They bring it into a belief structure that they may already have about themselves. And so it's impacting, it's adding to that belief structure. I could feel and know their thoughts. You just know everything. And so their example, I was in a group home. It wasn't a very good one. So there was other girls in there who didn't know how to support themselves once they're age out, and they turned to things that happens, it's, may it be stripping, or may it be selling their bodies, or they're on survival. They couldn't get a job for whatever reason, and so there was this young girl there, and I said, we're more than our body, and you're a smart girl. Don't ever give up on your education. You could apply for student loans and go to college and not be a statistic. And I didn't know that she really took that to heart. And this part gets me too. She went to school. Yeah, she went to school and she didn't do that. Anyways, I was very happy for her.
But you hadn't known that in your physical life, but you found that out through this experience where she was
Yeah.
able to share thoughts with you.
Yeah, because I was being shown how sometimes we don't recognize even the smallest things, or brief conversations with people can change somebody's life. I was shown karma and family and how we choose our family, like parents, siblings,
Do
even,
we choose them? That's a really interesting question for some of us.
yeah, we have a group of those that assist us before we incarnate on the physical bodies that are going to create us and the physical body that's going to bring us into incarnation. Obviously, the mother and the father. Not every single thing that you go through in life is going to be in agreement. So we'll have our exit points. I have had other exit points that I didn't go through. And everybody has, you don't just have one exit point, you have others. Big experiences that you chose to kind of like check off. Oh, yeah, in this incarnation, I want to be male. In this incarnation, I want to go to this place on the planet. In this incarnation, I really do need to experience how to manage extreme adversity. In this lifetime, I'm going to choose for myself very young parents who actually did not know how to parent and who would put me, i.e., myself, as a girl child, in some really horrific experiences. And through my life review, these were the things that I was shown.
What's the role of karma then?
The role of karma is to obtain the information, yes, but to integrate that information into an understanding of, for the actual soul purpose, to rise in awareness, consciousness, knowing. Once we come to that part, we never lose it because it's wisdom. And so when we have that soul wisdom, it actually is on a different frequency. It also helps the soul to rise to a different frequency overall. There were so many levels to the resting place of the souls that come in and make and create the consciousness. Consciousness has levels to it, interestingly enough. So let's say, oh, I don't know, let's say they're Hitler. We'll say Hitler, okay? The atrocities that he had implemented on our world, planet, and people. His soul is not going to be at the same level of frequency as mine or yours or many people out there. It is a lower frequency. Can I say what level? I don't know. Is it level 2? There was no indication that there was a hell. No indication whatsoever there was a hell. There was frequencies of a soul. So a soul vibrating on a higher frequency of, let's say, a 5 or a 6 is not going to be in the mix of souls on a 2-level frequency. It doesn't work. It's kind of like here, as your frequency rises, your consciousness rises, your awareness rises, and people are drawn to you who are of similar frequency. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that over time. On a soul level, it's very similar to that. There's even different realms, angelic realms as well. I was shown that. There's really high frequencies of, we like to call them angels. We do. We feel very comfortable calling them angels. But the truth is, they're beings.
When you say a being, is that an energy, a consciousness, an essence, a frequency? What is a being?
A being actually houses all of that. So a being is, depending on where they're from, could be of a very, very high frequency. They have high level of wisdom, because once you pass knowledge, you enter wisdom. They are light. They don't have a form like us. They don't even have an angelic form, really. They can be a ball of light. The interesting thing I found about beings or guides or angels, They will appear and show themselves to us and are very, very conscientious on what it is we can manage. So they're not going to present themselves in a way that is going to shock us. It's kind of like when my near death and my grandparents all stepped forward. They don't live in that form because they're souls, but they presented themselves that way for me because, of course, I'm freaking out, but because I was most comfortable with that. So it's the same thing when it comes to guides. It's the same thing when it comes to beings. The more comfortable you are in your awareness and consciousness, they know that. So if you're going to be presented with a light being meaning there could be kind of an outline of an incredible shining light, a light being, or it could be an orb. Could be an orb. So it really is depending upon what our comfort level is.
So the light being would be within the orb.
Yeah. Your consciousness of it,
Yes.
all that it is this orb. Yeah.
And then, Heather, what is your understanding of an angelic being then?
Well, interestingly enough, I had zero belief structure of angels. Zero. I was presented with some. It was the whole wings and everything, which was interesting. Some were of pure white wings, feathers. Some were of the wingspan started off as a lighter color, and then as it went down, it got darker. Maybe it's darker gray, but it's white, and then a heather gray, and a lighter tone of gray, and a medium gray until it was quite interesting, actually. Very big. Big, big, big beings, like of angels, massive. I would liken that to in my day, I have called on Archangel Michael, who's quite big. I have called upon them. There's others who, angelic beings from a very, very, very high realm, and I'm talking about 11, 12 level frequency, where they have kind of like an outline of that, but it doesn't look exactly like they've got wings, but it's sort of there.
But how do they differ then from a light being? What is the purpose of an angelic being? Why do we call them these different things?
Well, one, human nature is comfortable with it. And so, whatever our comfort is, how that is going to be presented. Angelic beings, depending upon what realm they're in, are always willing to assist us and to show up in what's comfortable for us. You've got other levels that are really just light. And if somebody's comfortable with experiencing just light as an angelic being, not all angelic beings have incarnated. There's some who have never. They don't even come from here, meaning beyond Earth. They could even be from other dimensions.
You have visited a place called the Crystal City and a place of great healing. Can you go a little bit into that for us?
The interesting thing was the marble. I didn't anticipate that. How could I? I mean, there's marble floors and marble structures, pillars, I guess we could call it, because I touched it. And it's white marble, by the way. And there is kind of like a healing pool, healing waters. We went by that and we continued to this place where some souls have had such a very hard lifetime. And they go to this, it seemed more intense place of healing. And it's almost like being kind of like in a little sort of place of crystal where the soul actually is, and it emanates different frequencies of healing. I noticed some were like a very pale pink, some were like blue, some were opal, different frequencies, but souls could be in a place of healing for a long time. Not that there's time, but in my understanding, because one of my things was, how did I not ever see my grandmother? She had flitted in and out a few times to mention about dangers, but she always said she can't stay, can't stay, can't stay. She'd flit in and flit out. But she was in the place of healing for a very, very long time. She had a very, very hard life. And there's not like a time limit. So
So
there's,
you're saying after a physical life, a soul might go to this beautiful place
yes,
just to recover themselves from the experience of being incarnated into a difficult life here, and they can
yes,
stay as long as they like.
absolutely. They stay for as long as they need. The understanding for many would be you shed all this when you go through the transition. But a soul actually does not necessarily do that, which is why when we do past life soul regression, we actually can connect with things that the soul has gone through. It has the information, but perhaps does not always have the level of psychological, physical, emotional crippling. This is why one goes into the place of healing for whatever duration of time is up to them. Because a lot of times we can come in from our life and we will share that with our soul group who have been on the other side. They didn't incarnate this lifetime, and we can share it with them on what we experienced. I eventually was shown some ways of travel, we can call it travel. I didn't know what to call it, so I called it wormholes. And so even when I was going to the Crystal City, which I didn't know I was going there, by the way, I had traveled through this wormhole that was so incredibly fast. Faster than the speed of light and sound and everything. I actually didn't know if I could survive it. It was a bumpy ride for me. And it was the colors flashing through this plasma kind of tube thing with all the colors until I got over there. So the Crystal City's over here. I was more or less over here. I was not within the Crystal City. I would love to have been there inside it. I could see it from a distance. And somebody had greeted me there. I remember them walking towards me, and it was a woman. And just to look at the beautiful, shimmering crystal, the frequency, the energy, the colors, all of it was just, it's hard to find words for it. Beyond amazing, beyond beautiful, beyond magnificent. Just absolutely in awe of it. It felt so wonderful. And I was embraced by this person, and the whole place felt like home. And she felt like home, and it was like a welcome. And it was felt so good. And then I was told I couldn't stay. And I said, I know, can't stay. But I wish I was an artist, because I would like to be able to recreate that for people to see.
Did you get any understanding about extraterrestrials or
Mhm.
star beings on other planets?
When we're talking about our guides, they are not necessarily just looking like us. Some of them actually are very high vibrating beings. Now, depending upon the frequency we incarnate with, we start off with, there are entities. Some of them I've seen are like blue entities. There are many different types of grays that I have seen. They're not all horrendous. That's not true. When I was presented with the cosmic board, they were beings, meaning ETs from all over the universe. And there were 9 of them at almost like a board table, an oval board table. And so when I was brought there, there's a space in front of that table, almost sort of like a little podium, but not quite. And so I stood there. I didn't sit at this table. I was not to sit there. There was no chair, no. And to talk with them. But some of them were brilliantly white beings. Some of them were just like a ball of moving energy, which was interesting. The light beings, the eyes, the eyes definitely were there. I guess a lot of people would say, oh, they were all ETs. They're actually all from different dimensions. They all come together. They're of a great support. We can obtain information if we are at a frequency level of understanding to receive it. Because otherwise it will be lost upon us because we can't hold the information, so they're not going to give it to us. One of the questions I did ask when I was there is if I could alter my main contract in this lifetime. And I was told no. There were certain aspects of contracts that I could maybe make some changes, but to remove them, no, absolutely not, which I felt really sad about. They were very loving, they were very kind, but they were also like the old wise ones, so full of incredible wisdom from different planets.
Did you get a sense of the divine presence of all things, of God?
I feel that I did when it was not just that felt like multi-dimensional levels of the white light, but when something more came. And was there a face? No. Was there a body? No. It was pure light. But it's almost like even on a soul level, even on that level of me freaking out, it absolutely calmed me, and I 100% knew that I am in the presence of something far more. And it wasn't just because I could see some gold. It wasn't just that. It was it's almost like the all. It's hard to find the language. The all aware, the all knowing, the all of everything. For a while I had wondered, why did I have the near-death experience to begin with? I just knew that it was really important for me to, yes, be of service. Yes, we're all to be of service, and whatever that's going to be. It doesn't mean it has to be enormous. I mean, somebody being of service, even as a carer, or somebody who is of service in supporting their neighbors, to be kind to one another is also of service. So some people see it as, oh, it has to be something really big, but it's not. It's also to the remembering that we are more. We're more than our bodies. We're more than this. We have so much knowledge, and to remember that we have abilities because we forget. And we can all call in energy. We can all connect with our body. We can all actually work with energy. We just forgot how to do it. We're energetic beings. Once the soul leaves here, the soul is energy. The soul is what makes the body operate. All that energetic component. Once the soul's out, the body can't function because it's like a big battery. And when we're looking at our soul purpose, what makes you feel good? For a long time, I've done a lot of different things in life. What made me feel good was living my promise. I really made a promise to come back here because otherwise I wasn't coming back. I made a promise to heal, and I made a promise to share. There was a period of time that my sharing, of course, is my service. I'm of service. And however that was going to be presented, I was never told, well, first you do this, Heather, and then you do that. And no, I had to figure it out on my own. The only thing I really knew, because I was told, I was going to have to heal myself. I was going to have to take all that information they gave me, utilize it, and do my own healing. And then share that information. You can't share what you haven't walked. There was a period of time that I was really worried that my healing was taking too long, and I was afraid that I wasn't living my promise, and by not living my promise, they would be taking me right back, and I'd leave this planet. That was my very physical mind creating that anxiety for myself, but it was something I really believed, that if I didn't do the work I needed to do, I wouldn't be here much longer.
Heather, if there's one essential truth that you've learned on the other side that you'd like humanity to understand, what would that be?
The absolute truth, in my understanding when I was on the other side, is truly we are brothers and sisters. We are an earth family here. And in order to create change, it really is up to us to work together as a family. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. We really are all connected. There is human beings, and that's it. It doesn't matter what the belief structures are. It doesn't matter where you're born in the world. It doesn't matter what your culture is. It doesn't matter what your skin tone is. We are all brothers and sisters, all of us. And we affect one another in either wonderful ways or in ways that create harm. And we really need to understand we're far more powerful than we give ourselves credit. And we are far more powerful united together to create change.
And so if people want to find out about you, Heather, what is your website?
My website is my name, heathermay.ca, or they can email me. I also have a chat on there. So even if people have a question, like, I will get to you. I do workshops, I do classes, introduction on how to first work with energy, how to feel it, basically, how to sense it, knowing that you can change and invite different frequencies in.
How long ago was this experience for you?
27 years.
And yet the experiences that you've had are so fresh in your mind and so strongly there still. They haven't faded, seemingly.
No, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. There was so much. It's so vivid and unforgettable. There's no way I could forget it. Dreams we forget, sure. Dreams are on a completely different level. Whereas something like this is more realistic than where we're living. And we feel more. We experience more. Everything is more in depth. Even like the energies are alive, energies moving, frequencies are just incredible. Every sensation is of, never mind an imprint, but it's a re-remembering at the same time. Even as I had touched the marble column, I can still feel what that felt like. And the light. You just know you're in the presence of something more.
You have been watching the Psychic Matters podcast with Ann Theato, the only podcast to push forward the boundaries of human consciousness to redefine the significance of living. Subscribe now so you don't miss future episodes.